episode 3 here. And last night's Royal Rumble, I had the live reaction after it, maybe like an hour or two after I did the live reaction, and my thoughts on the Royal Rumble itself. If you haven't checked out the pay-per-view, get the WWE Network, and I highly suggest to check it out, rewatch it. I watched it maybe 2 times already. I think it was done perfectly. As far as the men's and the women's Royal Rumble go, it was done very, 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 very much the way I would have done it. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about the recap of the Royal Rumble, going a little bit over it last night, finishing up the preview on tonight's Monday Night Raw, and as well as moving forward, what I expect to happen into so-called WrestleMania season has finally kicked off. Alright, so I'm going to start off with a different topic more than the Royal Rumble. I'm going to start off with the WrestleMania Access tickets have actually started selling. And one key note I saw was anyone who basically shows up on the day of WrestleMania, because they have a WrestleMania Access in the morning from, I believe it is 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Usually the guests on Sunday mornings on the day of WrestleMania usually don't have anything going for them that WrestleMania. Either they're injured, or they're legends, or they're retired from due to injury, or they're just recovering from injury. Last year at the WrestleMania Access that I went to was on Sunday, the day of WrestleMania. I actually went there, and the person that was there was Finn Balor. At that point in time, Finn Balor was recovering from a torn labrum from a match with Seth Rollins at SummerSlam, and he was at the WrestleMania Access taking pictures. Wasn't signing autographs, but was taking pictures and, talking to fans inside the Elimination Chamber, which is a very cool setup. If you haven't checked out WrestleMania Access, I think it's a must do. You need to do it at least once in your lifetime. It's truly, honestly, really good. But going on from where I left off, Finn Balor was at last year's WrestleMania, and as you know, he didn't wrestle last year's WrestleMania. They did him the night after Mania, which was done good, but it could have been done better. The crowd reaction was dead, I think, because everything that happened in the first hour, the crowd kind of died off and basically just got bored by the end, and Balor came in and he didn't get the pop he deserved, but it's another story for another time. So this year's WrestleMania Access, I noticed something very interesting. There are 2 guests for WrestleMania Access. They're going to be in the VIP package, which actually starts off at $125, which is different from years previous, because in years previous it was $200 or sometimes $150, $175. Just all depends. This year it seems like they have a set price rate. From what I've seen, the superstars I want to meet, which was Finn Balor, and the guys I'm going to mention later on, which is Finn Balor again, is on Saturday 3 p.m. is from anywhere from 3 to 5. They usually do a 2-hour signings, and it's $125 this year. So 2 of the guys I noticed. The first one was really interesting, and it's where I'm leading with this is it basically confirms that he won't be wrestling at all in the WWE anymore. And guest number 1 was Daniel Bryan. He's doing an 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. signing and taking pictures with the fans at WrestleMania Access. So people are expecting him to have a surprise match in the coming weeks, announcing a WrestleMania, having something to do with WrestleMania, getting in the ring, taking a bump. Don't expect it to happen. I mean, it could happen. Anything could change. But just don't expect it to happen just because WWE likes to put guys that are not on the card or don't have any involvement whatsoever on WrestleMania Day to be at WrestleMania Access, because they all want them to be at the stadium early. Some guys show up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 5 a.m., like you name it. They're there at the stadium the entire day. So Daniel Bryan won't be there. And I think another interesting one, which I actually noticed when I was flipping through, because I was actually thinking about purchasing tickets. And by the way, you need a promo code to actually purchase tickets, because it hasn't gone on sale to the public yet. You need to have a code, and the WWE's code is WWE FB, all capital letters, and you can purchase a ticket to meet any of the stars. I mean, it's stars. I mean, there's a lot of good stars. I personally kind of got let down that Ronda Rousey wasn't added to the debut last night. Whatever. Maybe it's contractual issues, but whatever. But the guy that was signing at 10 a.m. really intrigued me. A lot of people were expecting him to turn heel. Is actually Dean Ambrose. So if you're expecting to see Dean on the card at WrestleMania or make a surprise return, don't expect it. Like I said previously, anyone that's on Sunday WrestleMania's access, especially him coming in at 10 a.m. and doing 10 to 12. WrestleMania gates open at 4 a.m. I mean, not 4 a.m., 4 p.m., sorry. Just don't expect Daniel Bryan or Dean Ambrose to be on the card or have any involvement whatsoever at WrestleMania just because of their injury. And Daniel Bryan he's done in the ring, and I think in coming months we'll see him at Ring of Honor personally, where I see him win at. So there's that. Dean Ambrose, Daniel Bryan, don't expect him to see him at WrestleMania because they're doing the WrestleMania access. The WWE's taking a safe route. So there's that. As far as the Ronda Rousey thing last night, there was a report came out today by the Bleacher Report, that stating that Triple H and Stephanie McMahon want to do The Rock and Ronda Rousey in a mixed tag team match at WrestleMania. Basically, it makes sense from a storyline perspective from WrestleMania 31, and Santa Clara, California, where, obviously Ronda Rousey stepped in ring, The Rock was there, Stephanie slaps The Rock, Ronda, attacks Stephanie in the ring. It's basically leading off from there. Personally speaking, it makes sense. Would I want to see that? I would say no. I think you really truly need to build the character of Ronda Rousey, especially since ESPN has reported and has confirmed that she's not doing a Brock Lesnar type of deal. From what I've heard, I haven't had this confirmed yet, but what I've been told, it is a 3 to 4 year deal with a lot of money included, being Ronda Rousey. That's expected. 3 to 4 years is what really got me. It's like, wow, that's a really long time for a deal. I was like, oh, she might do the part-time thing like Brock. Nope, ESPN has confirmed it with Ronda Rousey. She is there indeed, full-time. Last night in the ring, like I ended up saying, I think what's gonna end up happening, I hope, we'll get a Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey match. I personally would want to see that, but scaling back from that, if we don't get that, honestly speaking, what I think might happen, Asuka will probably choose Charlotte Flair. Still a great match. Then what I think is going to end up happening is Nia Jax is finally going to get the push that people think she deserves. I personally don't think she deserves it. I just think she's bad all around against Alexa Bliss. That little friendship, bodyguard storyline thing they got going on. I think it all builds up at WrestleMania, and they face each other. Where does that leave Ronda Rousey? I think pairing her up with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon is not something we really want to see, but it's something that could work if they build up Ronda Rousey having a match, say having an open challenge match week after week, maybe having a mini feud with, from what I've heard, just a mini feud with basically anyone. I actually was told, I had a really good idea that a friend even mentioned in one of his live videos on Facebook, was the Riot Squad. I think that would be, great for the Riot Squad, and Ronda to go at each other, have a, handicap match. But I think that's too soon, and I think that would ultimately be putting the Riot Squad basically under the rug. It's just too soon as far as that goes. I think she should go against a seasoned veteran, maybe Lita, maybe Trish Stratus. I think doing that, having them go against one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time, having her being able to put some true legitimacy on the match, and for her to choose, say, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, have it build up to the mixed tag match against Triple H and Stephanie. I think that could work. I think that they could build up Ronda Rousey to be a monstrous superstar. I mean, I can't even call her a heel, because if she's a heel, she'll still get cheered. If she's a face, she'll still get cheered. I think it's time that they start planting the seeds. But the way I would do it, but she needs to go against a seasoned vet. Whether it's I don't think Mickie James would do it justice. I think Natalya would be a great one. just thinking about it now, like, I think Natalia would be really great, just because there was a video of them training, of Natalia training Ronda Rousey in the ring. It could be like she comes out, cuts a promo, and Natalia comes out and says, "I trained you in the ring." I think that would be a good mini feud leading up to WrestleMania. I think she just needs a seasoned vet on her side, and whether that being Lita, whether that being Trish Stratus, you just never know. Maybe even Michelle McCool had a great match, great Women's Royal Rumble match last night. I just think you should book her against Natalia. If not Natalia, maybe, I was going to say Paige, but she's, out of injury. She may never wrestle again. According to reports, she's not going to wrestle again. That has yet to be confirmed. She's holding out hope. Seems like more like a Daniel Bryan situation. But it's just hard pinning her against someone up and coming, because it would look like Ronda Rousey is coming in and she's burying them, and that's the last thing that we want to see. I think Natalia would be a perfect choice, but I also think that it wouldn't be such a bad idea to have Alexa Bliss lose the title to Ronda Rousey. Have Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax, two so-called powerful women of their division going against each other. I think that would be a great match. I think that's something that we could see, that we could sell. We even have a triple threat match, having Alexa Bliss versus Ronda Rousey versus Nia Jax. I think that could even work. But as far as where they're going to take Ronda Rousey, I think what they're doing, or whatever they do tonight's Raw will be truly memorable and will truly set the tone for the rest of the WrestleMania season. Going to actually a little tidbit of information that I found out last night. It actually was on the WWE network and on the WWE website. Was she did an interview with I forgot who it was, but it was one of the common WWE ring announcers, one of the backstage people did an interview with her, and Ronda Rousey ended up explaining that from what I've read in previous articles before she even came to the WWE, that she was a huge fan of Roddy Piper. That was her favorite That was one of her favorite wrestlers. I don't know if that was the favorite wrestler. I know Hulk Hogan was one of them. Hulk was everyone's favorite wrestler back in the 80s and 90s. I wasn't even born then, but that's another story for another time. But in that tidbit, she said if it wasn't for Roddy Piper, that there would be no Ronda Rousey in the UFC. She said that she asked Roddy Piper to use that Ronda Rousey. He said yes, and she grew up around wrestling. You can genuinely tell she's a person that truly loves the business and loves everything about it, and that she's just so glad to be finally into the WWE. People say that she quit on the UFC. Well, she accomplished everything in the UFC. There was nothing left to accomplish for her. She had 6 successful UFC title reigns. There was nothing left for her to do. Yeah, she lost 2 fights, and then she ended up walking away. Yeah, people can call her anything they want, but there wasn't more of a dominant woman in the UFC ever. She, at one point, was selling more than what the men were selling. She has sold more than Conor McGregor has ever sold. She put UFC in the women's division on a whole nother national level. Now, she is the true pioneer of the women's division in UFC and what she did. She was basically what WWE did with the Women's Revolution, is what she started doing way before the Women's Revolution was even public in the WWE. She was already doing it in the UFC. So that's why I think this is such a huge win for not even just for the Women's Revolution, the WWE getting Ronda there, but women's rights all around. So what I truly ended up hearing last night on the interview after she made her debut was she actually ended up saying Roddy Piper's son Cole actually flew out with one of Roddy Piper's jackets and gave it to her to debut last night. And that jacket, I was just like, why is she wearing that jacket? And then I was like, maybe that's Roddy Piper's jacket. And then wouldn't you know, as soon as the lights cut off, and she was apparently still in the arena, talking to fans, taking selfies with fans. That's someone that generally wants to be there. someone that genuinely loves the business. She ended up saying that, it was given to her by Roddy Piper's son Cole to, debut, and just that way she went the extra way to pay tribute to one of my also favorite wrestlers. Shows how much she truly cares about the business, and the fact that she's doing it full time, unlike another former UFC fighter who had a very underwhelming match. That's another story for another time. Just like even thinking about it, just like it all came together last night. Her entire wardrobe and why she did it and how she did it, it just made perfect sense. Now on to what I think is gonna happen tonight at Monday Night Raw. I think Ronda Rousey opens the show, gets interrupted by Stephanie McMahon. Seeds are planted. Mixed tag match. We might see The Rock later down the road. I think Ronda Rousey will have her first match tonight on Monday Night Raw. The crowd's gonna go crazy. They're gonna love it. They're gonna feed off it. I think it'll be a very, very, very excitable night. As for what's gonna happen with the Universal title, I think they'll have the Elimination Chamber and number one contenders match. Roman obviously comes in and wins. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar. As far as Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for Tuesday, what I think is going to end up happening, somewhere along the line, Sami Zayn's going to end up turning on Kevin Owens, and we'll have a match with that. We actually could have a special guest referee in that one. I think it might end up being Shane McMahon, or it might end up being Daniel Bryan, but we'll just see how that goes. Going back to what a friend of mine ended up texting me was, and I actually told him that I was going to talk about it in this podcast, was, the revolution of Japanese wrestlers. You had Asuka winning it last night from Japan, wrestled in Japan, made a name for herself in Japan. Yeah, Shinsuke Nakamura winning the 30-man Royal Rumble. I think this isn't made by, so-called accident, because if you look at those two, they had some sort to do with the explosion of the Japanese wrestling scene and the strong style, or whatever you want to call it. They revolutionized it and brought it to America and made it cool, or quote unquote. But people really overlooked last night, you have the Balor Club knockoff of the Bullet Club, who is also the leader of the Bullet Club and the originator and founder of the original Bullet Club in the WWE, and he even got time last night in the Royal Rumble to shine. He got time, and he's been getting time every week now. For the longest, we were crying about Balor's not getting this, Balor's not getting that. He's being put in the wrong feud. Well, now since the start of 2018, he was on the Raw's 25th anniversary show in Manhattan with the D-Generation X, doing a 2-suite with them. It's just what they've done with those three, Asuka, Balor, and Shinsuke. All three of them being, getting their spotlight to shine all in one night is really showing how much the WWE is changing, how much they're changing their demographic, and how much they're trying to go the extra way to please fans, how much the business is changing, and how quickly WWE is changing right behind it, and basically morphing it into what it is over Japan is what they're going to try to make it their version of it, but they're going to rebrand it, basically taking whatever they did in Japan and putting it over here in the seas, and taking whatever they did overseas and bringing it here and actually making a whole new exposure, which I think is great for not even WWE, but for wrestling as a whole. So there's that. That's a little interesting tidbit that I also noticed last night, how the Japanese wrestling scene has exploded. And speaking of that, I do think New Japan will land a brand new contract with a major TV provider. I don't know who it will be, but I think once they do, I think you'll be seeing PG-13 possibly come back. I don't know about it coming back permanently, but I think you'll see more of an edgier content start coming back. I think you see Ring of Honor, coming out more. And you see, that's another one of those guys that, you see Prince Puma or Ricochet, who was actually even over at New Japan. just got signed. I mean, you see Adam Cole, who is a Ring of Honor, and he did a little bit of time in New Japan, just got signed. They're signing these guys, and they're trying to literally change their way of thinking and say, all right, maybe we don't need to have a corporate, superstar as in Roman Reigns, which is why I think he's getting such a big push, because he's homegrown talent. And they're just not trying to say, okay, we don't need to have homegrown talent, because homegrown talent can always, it's like a major league baseball team. They'll sign a prospect, and a prospect could be boom or bust. Well, basically, WWE doesn't have time to invest all that time into someone and for them to be boom or bust. For example, Drew McIntyre, his first run with the WWE, they invested so much time in him, and guess what? He turned out to be a bust. CM Punk came from Ring of Honor, did that whole pipe bomb. Then after that, did the whole Colt Cabana thing. And he ended up talking about how WWE is always pushing part-time stars. And he ends up leaving. And what I think he ended up leaving is why we have all these new Japan pro wrestling guys coming over from the WWE. More of these Japanese wrestlers coming over. More of the independent scene rising. More of the NXT becoming more of like a I don't even know how you say it, a breeding house for independent stars to grow, to expand, to make their own platform of being NXT. That's why you see these NXT shows outdo the Royal Rumble, outdo WrestleMania, outdo SummerSlam, outdo Survivor Series, and whatnot else, because of all these independent wrestlers and these guys coming from overseas. It's just that the scene has exploded ever since CM Punk did that, and the WWE has taken notice. Hey, we don't need to have a guy that's homegrown, always try to be our face of the company, when you have guys doing better and making more money, and companies doing a lot better and expanding, of taking chances from other companies. Like, all right, this guy isn't getting paid, he wants to get more exposure, we'll bring him over. And I think the WWE is truly starting to take notice of that. So that's why I think they finally gave Asuka, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Finn Balor their due. And finally, it's starting to pay off. I think 2018 will be a whole new year in WWE, where it really starts a new trend of independent stars, guys coming from overseas, whether it be Japan, Ireland, Germany, Mexico, no matter where it is, there's more and more talent coming in, and basically it's getting ready to explode. And WWE's never had this amount of good talent on the roster. They have so much talent, they don't know what to do with it, and I think they're starting to get a better grip on it. They're just now realizing, hey, this guy doesn't have to have the world title for him to sell merchandise. He doesn't need the world title to be a big name star, which is what a lot of fans for some reason are starting to think. Okay, if this guy has the world title and this guy doesn't, that means they're not giving this guy the push he deserves. When maybe that guy just doesn't need the world title. Maybe the guy that has the world title needs it for him to be more legitimate. So that's another way of why I think WWE is starting to expand into bigger circuits. It's starting to please fan bases from overseas, just like how they did with Jinder Mahal, and when they opened up their India, when they went back to India and did the India tour, then opened up their India to the WWE network, where they have let them hold it. And that's what I think they're starting to do. But I think they're starting to do with countries not only from Japan, which is the hot breed for wrestling superstars apparently of late. I think they're starting to see it all over the world, and it's just, you have so many different guys with different nationalities, with different backgrounds coming in. Even someone like Ronda Rousey, jiu-jitsu background coming in, you know what I mean? It's just, what I think they're just finally doing is just they're finally coming around. Vince is finally coming around. Not only that, I think signing Ronda Rousey in a year or two, when the contract expires from the USA Network, makes the company a lot more worth more money. And not only that, if they resign Brock in some miracle way, and that's just going to be adding more fuel to the fire. How I think that what he'll end up doing, he'll sell the TV rights to Fox, and we might get just a little bit edgier content. I think we might have like a 2 hour show, possibly. I'd keep it at 3 hours with the amount of talent you got now. It could be booked perfect with the talent you have now with 3 hours. Keep it at 3 hours and see how it goes. If not, then change it back to 2 hours and maybe make it PG-13. But as far as that goes, that's why I think Finn Balor, Shinsuke, and Asuka got their due in the Rumble is finally after all those years in NXT and just put them up on the main roster. As far as Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan, where that's going to go, I think it'll lead the match possibly between Seth Rollins versus Kurt Angle. I think they just need to keep Jason Jordan at the mid-card. Just keep him there. Don't have him hold the title. Build him up. I think you might have him go up to Kurt and finally say, I'm not your son. You got lied to. Whatever. Just do something with Jason Jordan. Just as long as he doesn't hold the title, put him in a good mid-card feud. As far as Seth Rollins, you could have Seth Rollins versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. Maybe have during one of the segments tonight, Seth Rollins attack both Jason Jordan and Kurt Angle. Have Seth Rollins get fired, and then Stephanie McMahon come out and say, if you beat Kurt Angle at WrestleMania, you get to keep your job, and I think that'll be good to put over Seth Rollins even more, having more of a legitimate character behind him. Have possibly, we have yet to have that heel, if you want to say general manager from either show. I think it's time to make a heel Kurt Angle. I think it'd go perfect. I think it'd go a long way. But yeah, so far, and where they go with Braun Strowman after last night, I don't know what they're gonna do with Braun. Intercontinental title to me really doesn't make sense. I mean, I think they could pull it off, but I don't think that's really WrestleMania worthy. I mean, I think you put Miz and Braun and 4 others in a ladder match for the Intercontinental title. Maybe throw in Elias Sampson, throw in Finn Balor in there. Maybe even a Jason Jordan, or even Rey Mysterio, which is another topic I'm gonna get to. Sorry guys. So I don't know where they're gonna go with that angle. I think they should do a 6-man ladder match for the Intercontinental title. As far as the tag team titles go, Raws, I don't know where they're gonna be going with that either. It's just so unpredictable. I think they could have them versus Finn Balor and the Balor Club, which I know Finn Balor has to be one of the members, or just have Carl Anderson or Doc Gallows, or you just have the Revival. Maybe have all those guys in a ladder match. Maybe have 3 ladder matches at WrestleMania. Maybe that'd be pushing it. As far as Jimmy and Jey Uso retaining last night was a little bit shocking. Where they gonna go with that? Aiden English and Rusev Day should get a shot at the tag team titles at WrestleMania. Rusev selling merchandise. Fans are behind him. He's doing great in ring. He's not getting hurt. He's staying out of the media. Like he really needs a title right now. Not even that. Aiden English and Rusev complement each other so well, and I think it's time to strike on that. AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. Well, we already know where that's going. That match just sells itself. As far as the Undertaker not appearing last night, he doesn't need to appear. I'd rather not have him appear, waste a spot in the Royal Rumble. He's facing Cena as scheduled still. We might see it 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. I might have to see it mid-March. I'd hope it's tonight, just to kick off Monday Night Raw like that, and just see where it goes. Basically, I just didn't think it was really needed for the Undertaker to appear last night, especially have him appear twice in a matter of days. That you don't want to ruin that era or aura, whatever you want to call it, of the Undertaker appearing so much. I think you just have him appear tonight, maybe accept the challenge, Tombstone Cena, and walk out, lights go off, come back on, Cena's just Tombstone there, lying still, and that's how you book that, and then have him show up maybe 2-3 times more till WrestleMania and have that be his final match. There's no more reasons to have The Undertaker go against anyone else. As far as Rey Mysterio, from what I've read today and what I felt last night, that it was going to be more of a one-off. But a part of me doesn't want to see that, just because I saw my childhood come up when I seen him. So I don't want that to be just a one-off appearance for him. It's being reported right now that he still could go to TNA, but the deal was signed earlier this week for that with Rey Mysterio and WWE, that it will just be a one-off, that they're still in contract negotiations. They might sign one today, but with the loss of sorry guys, but with the loss of Enzo Amore and the Cruiserweight title being wide open, I think it's best that you sign Rey Mysterio and have him win it tonight in an open challenge, or whatever you want to call it. Maybe even have a ladder match tonight to determine who's gonna be the Cruiserweight champion. Have Rey come in and win it, have him be the Cruiserweight champion, and then have the Hurricane, Gregory Helms, be your 205 Live GM. I think it works out, and that way it doesn't look like last night's two surprise entrants were just one-offs. It wouldn't be bad, but I don't know how I would feel about that if they just both were one-offs. I just think the Cruiserweight needs some life. Adding those two, so-called maybe leading the Young Bucks and how to do it, in the ring as a Cruiserweight division, I think would help. So as far as that goes, the United States title, who knows? I personally think that it should just be Baron Corbin and Bobby Roode. See how that goes, how they finish that off. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And tonight's Raw, I expect a lot to happen on Raw and SmackDown. But I want to see where they go with Roman Reigns and what the excuse is now. I just want to see a good show tonight. That's all I'm expecting. I'm expecting a very big show, a very big pop. So yeah, that's basically it, guys. So let me know what you guys think of the video. Like, share, subscribe, and comment.